Hi guys, and welcome to day 2 of my video diary, my new little adventure in sharing myself with others and paying more attention to what I notice throughout the day and my journey and what I'm learning, and just sharing that, and hopefully it might help other people. But if not, it'll help me. And so much the better. Today I want to talk about joy. It's something I've been thinking about a lot today, because I've been experiencing it a lot, and I've been experiencing it a lot more recently. Now, I don't know if that's because of my meditation practice, or if that's because I'm generally feeling better in myself, but the fact that I am experiencing more joy has made me realise that I really wasn't. And so for those who don't know me or aren't familiar with my story, 5 years ago I lost my dad very suddenly, and 4 years after that, and last year, I lost my mum. I have found that journey, the process of loss and the process of grieving, really difficult and really painful, as I'm sure most people, if not all people, do. And because of that, there hasn't been a lot of joy in my life for the last few years. And the only joy that's really existed has been when I've been travelling, or when I've been doing exciting things and having adventures. And I found the prospect of actually being at home and just being with me not very joyful. I was experiencing lots of heavy and difficult emotions, uncovering things about myself that were sometimes challenging or uncomfortable, and I was searching for more meaning in my life, and that hasn't always been an easy or a smooth path. But in the last few months, I have reconnected with that feeling of joy. And people talk about joy, and they talk about the importance of it, especially if you are familiar with the law of attraction. People talk about the emotions that you need to be experiencing in order to attract the life that you want to have. And joy is often one of those key words that people throw around as a thing that you need to experience if you want to attract things. And I absolutely agree with that. And I was very aware that I wasn't experiencing that. And today I noticed that joy is becoming something that is a part of me and a part of my day-to-day. Now, it's not this profound thing that means I'm in this altered state of happiness. It's just that feeling of being connected to my heart and feeling happy, and happy with the situation that I'm in and the life that I'm living, even if the life that I'm living isn't 100% the way I would want it to be. I can experience joy whilst moving through the process of changing my life. And I didn't really realise that that was possible. I think I've been quite caught up in the negative emotions that I've been experiencing. And if you've experienced grief, you know that process of losing somebody, to a certain extent, you lose yourself. You lose the ability to kind of know who you are and where you're going and what the point is of everything. And sometimes the byproduct of that is that the joy disappears for a while. Not forever, but for a while. And that is definitely my experience. That's the experience that I have had. And So I work in an office part-time whilst I'm busy working on my coaching business and working on helping others. And I was really resistant to that. I was really resistant to the idea of working for somebody else, because in my mind I want to have a life of freedom and a life of choice, and working for someone else represents lack of choice, lack of freedom. And it was a challenge for me to accept that financially that's what I needed to do in order to follow my path, and in order to honour my dreams I had to do what was necessary to make that happen, and that meant getting a job working for somebody else. And I'm very lucky that the place that I work is an amazing place. The guys that I work with are lovely, and I feel very comfortable working there. And it's probably the first job I've had where I feel freer. I feel I'm able to create a space for myself within that company, to be me, to show up authentically, and not to have to put myself into a box. Previous corporate jobs that I've had have been very much, you work constantly, you lose your life, it's often quite unfulfilling. There's all sorts of politics. I'm not really interested in politics. I'm not really interested in moaning and whinging, and there's a lot of that sometimes in corporate offices, and certainly in the jobs that I've had. And so I was fully resistant to the idea of working for someone else, because I just didn't want that. Like, in my mind, I had been through way too much to want to go backwards, because that's what I felt it was. And then I realised in the last few months from working in this place that I am experiencing more and more joy whilst I'm working there. And that doesn't mean that it's my dream job, because I know that it isn't, and I know that there is a temporariness about it. There is a point at which it will no longer be the right thing for me, and I will need to move on to the next phase of my life. But for now, in this moment, it is the right place for me to be. And in that, I am able to experience more joy. Even silly things like making tea for people, I really enjoy that. I really enjoy contributing and doing something nice for other people, and the feeling of appreciation from the people that I work with for doing that. And it's a simple thing. It's not a, groundbreaking thing to do to make tea for somebody, but it's my way of showing that I care and that I want to contribute something to their day, even if I'm not working with them directly. That's just my way. So that realisation that I can work for someone else and experience joy has almost helped me to experience more of it. And the beauty of that is that I now am able to see that if I can maintain that space, if I can maintain that feeling of joy, then I will attract more of it, because that's the whole basis of the law of attraction. Like, if I experience joy, then I attract more of it. And so now I'm in a position where, even though things might not always be perfect, and they might not always be, the same as what's on my vision board, I can still have joy, and I can still have joy without needing to go and do lots of extreme things. My most joyful experiences have been when I've been off doing crazy stuff, like travelling for 9 months around Southeast Asia. Like, I experienced a lot of joy, but at the same time, I also experienced a lot of escaping my reality and escaping the things that were happening. That was at a time when my dad had just died, and really all I wanted to do was run away. And so as much as there was joy in that, there was a lot of pain underneath it, which I avoided. I think the joy that I experienced was maybe slightly artificial, because I was avoiding what was really going on. And now I'm in a place where that joy is genuine joy. There's nothing underneath it that I'm trying to hide from. I've I'm aware of my stuff. I'm aware of the difficulties that I experience, and it's such a liberating feeling to be able to experience joy doing really simple stuff. So I guess the thing I wanted to kind of say is that if you can connect to joy, if you can connect to that feeling, if you can find things that you really just enjoy doing and have more of those things in your life, you will attract more of it. So if you're in a place where maybe things aren't the way you want them to be, or your life isn't quite as joyful as it could be, what can you do to change that? What things really make you happy? For me, it's making tea. Not always, but you know, it's just about finding what makes you feel joyful and happy and creating more of that, because ultimately that then means you just have a nicer life. So yeah, that's my little my little realisation for the day, and it's a nice realisation. It's a nice place for me to be, to know that joy is something that is actually in my life now. And I really hope that if you're watching this and you're not experiencing joy, that maybe you'll think about things that do create joy in your life, and maybe you'll feel inspired to try and have more of that. Anyway, that's me signing off. Have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow.